we're gonna jump right into this time. So just rip the, what do you say? I don't even know how to say it, the band-aid off immediately. This is episode 18. And we are gonna like sum up the seasons or the season in Europe.
Yes.
I know we have had an episode where we have talked about how teams across Europe in the different leagues played and stuff like that. But this is more in depth.
It's more in depth, exactly. And I think it's if you watch the previous episode this season, you will recognize also from the player part, because we had the episode in January or something where we went through the season halfway. We also had an episode, one of the first one in the early fall, when we looked at some players. So some subjects you will recognize, but also it's interesting in the context that some players have continued to perform, or if you remember a player from a top list previously and they're not there anymore, it means that they've either been injured or haven't performed as well after that.
Exactly.
So
this is going to be interesting now. Obviously, we are gonna take you through the league winners, but also top 4. I believe you have.
I have. Exactly. I have prepared the spiders for top 4 in every league. So not all of them made it to Champions League qualifiers, obviously, but all the teams performed very well. And what you can think about with these spiders is that if you're performing very well, you're in the end or furthest out in the category. If you're performing worse compared to other teams, you're in the middle. And necessarily it's not absolutely the same thing as like a really big spider, the better team. It's also a matter of playing style. So if you're not performing the best in some categories, it just means that you're not focusing the same on it. Chelsea and Wolfsburg are teams that usually don't have a completely covered spider but are still performing super well because of their playing style. So
and also we need to add the fact is that teams can be so good at a few things that this is what makes the difference.
Exactly.
In the end as well. But actually we are starting with the Women's Super League in England, where Chelsea won 2 points clear of Manchester United in the end. So let's look at these two teams, and this is data now from the whole season, obviously.
All the games, exactly. Manchester United took a huge step forward. If we would have compared to last season, we could see a huge increase in their spider. Like, they had a great season, point record and best finish ever. In regards of so many stats, they also performed the best in comparison to other teams. You can see 4 categories where they had the best performance in Women's Super League, and that's the pressing game, the defense, which is allowed chances against. Goalkeeping here is just pure shot stopping, so it's not how the goalkeeper is involved in building up possession and so on. Just so pure shot stopping, classic goalkeeping with Mary Earps. And then possession, they had a very high number of possession, or the highest average in possession every game. And they generated a lot of their threat through passes, where they had the second best number. And Una Battier is one of the answers to that. And we will look more into that to player stats later.
But this is you can see when you compare team spiders like this, that it's quite interesting to see the differences, obviously, because here we have you just explained the goalkeeping spider here.
Exactly. And that's a huge difference. So Chelsea, they had the best offense in the league. They created most chances. They had the second best defense, and their expected points was the highest. So it was fair that they won, and that's because they had such a high expected or chance difference in every game, like expected goal difference in every game. United didn't have a good as like they were good, but they didn't have as good offense or efficiency to win the league. Although you can say with Chelsea that it's remarkable maybe that their goalkeeping wasn't better, or their like pure shot stopping is not the best, but enough still.
Yeah, more than enough, I would say. But it is interesting. It's always interesting because I know that we will probably see some differences if we would go back to look at what we saw back in January, I think, when we also showed these team spiders, because obviously players have been injured. I think Manchester United is the team that have been playing with the most consistent starting 11 actually. But Chelsea, we all know the drill there. Many players injured, key players, obviously. So, but the goalkeeping, it's a standout there for sure.
Yeah, and one thing to remember also here is that the spider is like a pure rank. So, like if the goalkeeping is, for example, bad in Women's Super League, it could still be very good in comparisons to other league. I'm not saying this is the case, but in some, like every goalkeeper could have been very good in the Women's Super League. Like they have had a very high standard, but then it looks worse in Spider. So if you want to compare it like more worldwide, you need to look into the numbers. Also, like in these Spiders, it's all the goalkeepers that have played combined, and it's just shot stopping. So there's more to a modern goalkeeper. So that's something to have in mind. And we're going to look a little bit about the difference in between the metrics in Europe later. So we'll see more into that.
So this is number 3 and 4 in the league.
Yeah. And Manchester City has a pretty similar spider as to last year, that they are very heavy when it comes to possession, generating threat through passes and carries, and generating a lot of threat, but necessarily not contributing to as much chances as the other teams. You can see in the offense that they are obvious number, or you can't see that they are ranked 4, but they're ranked 4th in the league. So they're still like, when it comes to generating chances, they're behind the other teams in the top. But when it comes to generating threat and having a good possession, and their high possession numbers also leads to the fact that their defense is fairly good, because the opponents can't have much time to attack, and also they are very good when it comes to recovering the ball when they don't have it, like recovering the ball fast. So that's interesting. Arsenal is more of a all-round team. They're good in everything, not necessarily the best, except from the set pieces. And set pieces here is, you can measure set piece in many ways, but in this spider, set pieces is the expected goal difference from corners, set piece crosses, free kicks, and throw-ins that are attacks. So like throw-ins that are thrown into the box and so on. And there they are the best. So over time, they will generate a good result. The thing that is interesting here is maybe the efficiency that is not good compared to the chances. Like they generate a lot of chances, but we know City had Shaw that took care of their chances very well, but as a team, both of them lacked when it came to efficiency, like taking care of the chances.
Also, 2 teams that will be very interesting to follow through the transfer window because of what you said just. Obviously, also because Arsenal have severe injuries on many players as well. But let me ask you this: Manchester City carries and dribbles very high, I would say. Is this due to the fact that they have Lauren Hemp and Chloe Kelly on the wings?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Like their playing style and what kind of players they have there. I mean, Lauren Hemp has great grades when it comes to expected threat this season as well. So she's and Chloe Kelly, of course. So it's a lot about that. But also when it comes to the passing game, City is also very good in like passing. They have a lot of possession. They are good in passing the longer passes, and it's all from Greenwood as well, like that can generate value from the back. There's a lot of players that are good when it comes to that. If we move on to the Bundesliga in Germany, we have maybe the biggest spider when it comes to Bayern.
Yeah, the most beautiful one. I like it. I like them when they are like all red.
Yeah.
I know this is quite interesting as well, because you can tell me if I'm wrong now, but I do think that the Bayern Munich, they overperformed their XG. And they look efficient, but not as efficient that you might have expected looking at the offense and the rest of the spider.
Yeah, they could have been more efficient, but they still they are still very efficient. And then
in the league, we must say also, because this is the Frauen Bundesliga.
Yeah, exactly. This is the Frauen Bundesliga, and that's also, if you would look at Arsenal's stats in the Champions League, they're also like, they were good here, but they're very good in the Champions League. But I think that Wolfsburg, for example, if you compare with Wolfsburg, they have like a very known style of play. So it's interesting to see, like the pressing is high, the ball recoveries is high, the offense is high, but a more direct style of play.
I'm going to ask you a question now.
Yeah.
I just let's see if I'm putting you on the spot or if this is an easy one for you to answer.
I will see.
Because, like, not obviously, but ahead of the Champions League final, many people talked about Wolfsburg's defense.
Yeah.
And then in the Bundesliga, they had a couple of bad games, where people criticized their defensive display, I would say.
Yeah.
But looking at the spider here, I wouldn't say is it the defense, or how can you compare the defense to what you talked about with the goalkeeping, shot stopping? What is bad shot stopping and what is a good and bad defense, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, bad shot stopping is that when you look at the chances that the opponent generates, that the goalkeeper is not saving. Like, it doesn't have a positive netto when it comes to saving expected goals, really. Like, the likeliness of the goal being conceded is lower than the actual goals that have been conceded. Okay. But one thing that is still, like, when we work with goalkeeper data, that is interesting is that it's harder if you could generate a few chances, but when you do, the chances are of very good quality, and then it's very hard for the goalkeeper to save them because they're very close. The expected goals is very high. It's easier to put the goal in the net. But then we try to measure, like, how is the goalkeeper exiting from the line and so on, like to measure more valuable goal data. And also, like, if you're a goalkeeper in a team that is very good to close the penalty area and make the opponent shoot from a distance, it's easier to save. So, like, the goalkeeper could be sensitive in, like, how the teammates help out. And I think that, I don't know, I think overall Wolfsburg's defense is very good. You can see that in the spider, but I haven't watched the Bundesliga as much as you had, Mia, but I think you could see in the Champions League that they allowed very, like the defending, especially from Rolfe's goal, was, like, not very good. Like, when you allow very good chance in the box like that. So it's sometimes they might lack, but overall, like, if you're looking over a season, it's not penalizing them. Like, they're performing very well. So
no. Well, something to think about when the new season begins, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly.
Number 3 and 4 in the Bundesliga. I actually like that most German teams have beautiful spiders. Red.
Yeah, they are performing very good. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Frankfurt can perform in Europe, like in the qualifiers. Very interesting team overall. performing very, very well. Hoffenheim, if you compare with them, they're also very good, but you can see that their efficiency when it comes to taking care of chances, that was the difference from them like making the top 4, I think, in comparison to other teams that also performed well. But still a very deserved the 4th place. You can see that they're performing well in almost all metrics.
Yeah.
Moving
on to France, your favorite country, Jesper.
Yeah, exactly. When it comes to France, I think it's like insane.
I need to say this because this is like watching 2 teams.
Yeah.
You can see that they have lacked in the number 9 position a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
Katoto, PSG, Ada Hegerberg, Lyon.
Exactly. And I mean, efficiency, it's just pure netto of like how many chances you generate and if the players take care of those chances. So like it's still like if you have players that only take care of 90% of chances, but you still generate a lot of chances, you will be good. But you can be even better if the players are like taking care of the chance as well.
Yeah.
And for like for some teams it can make a huge difference. I know like for IFK Kalmar, like their stats didn't look good at all last season, but they had Alyssa Walker on top, and she was one of the most efficient strikers. And like if they wouldn't have had her, they would not have saved the contract, like for sure. And I mean. I think it's obvious that these teams are like performing super well, and it's like they both have this Pac-Man design, and they are like number 1 or number 2 in all of the metrics. Otherwise, they have really good goalkeepers, both of them. So yeah, super impressive.
Just that number 9. Position.
Yeah, just that number 9, exactly. When we look at the teams 3 and 4, it's a bit different. It's like the other turnaround. You can see that I think in France, like when it comes to underlying performance, it's like maybe Lyon and PSG are like their world worth number 1 and 2, but Paris FC is also like a clear top team. Football Club Fleury, and then you have Montpellier and so on, like in behind. They like when it comes to underlying performance, they lack a bit. Like it's but for Fleury, they like top goalkeeping and good offense and efficiency, like defensive netto. But so
if someone is scouting for a goalkeeper here, is what you're saying is that go look at Fleury's.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure she's in a list we will look at later.
I think so too.
Serie A. I think Roma has maybe also, except from Bayern, like the best spider.
I know there has been a lot of talk about Roma's pressing this season.
Yeah. And I think that's something that stands out. And you correct me if I'm wrong, but like in the league, they managed to have a super high possession and the pressing is super good. But in Champions League, it was maybe more of the pressing making them successful. Since maybe on average better opponents in the Champions League, of course. But then like they're the best in offense, the best in defense. Like they generate the most chances. They take care of the chances. They're also good in set pieces. So like they have everything, really. And Juventus also performing very well, like a well-deserved number 2, especially when it comes to ball recoveries. That's the top one. Here, maybe the surprise is Milan, that doesn't have an underlying performance that is like worth Europe, actually. So they have had a good, good overperforming. I would say. Like Fiorentina looked better, for example, when you look at the underlying performance. Didn't make the top 4. Inter super above average team. Like it's just an enlargement of the average almost.
Also, a certain striker there or forward that has been providing to the efficiency, I think.
Yes, one of the best players in the world this season, if you ask me. We will not look at her spider this episode, because we looked at it the last episode. So if you want to look at her, I recommend you to watch that episode again. But fantastic, and I hope she stays in Europe and not goes back to China. Nothing bad about Chinese football, but I'm just like, I watch European football, so I hope I get to watch her. We move on, and now we will look at some scatter plots, and I will explain what you see on the Y and X and guide you through it. And I have marked out not all of the teams that we have looked before, because it would be too many colors, but mainly I think maybe I missed some, but I tried to mark out all the teams that made it to Europe, and I included Spain as well, but not all of them. There's some missing, but like the top teams and probably the teams that will compete about the Champions League title next year.
And I think you will need to tell why we can't look at team spiders in League F in Spain.
Oh yeah, sure. That's we talked about it before, but we don't have access to good enough video to cover data on all League F, so we cover as many games as we can, and then it's like mostly that we have data on Barcelona, all the Barcelona games and Real Madrid, but we don't have the full league. So I didn't think it was a fair comparison to show the spiders. It would have shown that Barcelona and Real Madrid are super good, and that's still true, but that's why I didn't include them. Although we have stats from all their games, so we can still or almost all of their games, so we can still like provide a fair picture when you add them to a scatter plot with the rest of the teams in Europe. So what you have here is the expected threat difference in the y-axis, and then you have the possession in the x-axis. So what you see here is that it's a correlation between having more possession and generating more expected threat. But you can see that if you imagine a line here that I could have drawn out, and you are up here in the corner, for example, with Wolfsburg and Wolfsburg and Lyon, they are generating more threat than the average compared to their possession. So they're like very efficient, and that goes with you saw the ball recoveries, the pressing, like they have a very good counter-attacking game. So there are teams that do that very well, and you could see teams that have a very high possession, but instead not turning it to chances. I don't remember which team this is, but this is an example of a team that has a higher possession on average, but they don't generate value from the possession in the level that they could. So maybe they are like attacking too much, like too slow, and against too established defenses, which makes it even harder. But yeah, no surprise to see Barcelona in the upper right corner, and that will be kind of the story of these plots for many of them. No surprise, they won the Champions League. So if we move on, we have directness versus switches, and this may be like stats that many of you haven't like heard of the same amount of times. But directness, this is a number in percent, but it really tells you like how high amount of passes and carries are going towards the opponent's goal. So if you have a very high number, it's like a very high amount of the passes that goes to the opponent goal. And switches, that's when you switch the side of the field that you control the game. So if you're switching sides a lot, you're really moving like from controlling on the right side of the pitch to the left. And I would say that in general, like it could be different. Like some teams in possession are very good in switching because they want to generate space, because usually if you do a good switch, you generate space for other people to progress. But it could also be teams that counterattack that are very good to switch sides when they come back. And Wolfsburg is a great example of that. Like they have the most switches per 90, and they also have the highest directness of the top teams. One thing that I could add also, like you can see that the teams that are performing or you can't see the points here, but generally, like all the teams we marked out are successful teams, and you can see that they, on average, have a lower directness than the other teams, and that comes from actually that a lot of teams that are defending a lot, they are like trying to play out of pressure. They may be forced to take more longer passes, and that's why usually a team that is defending a lot are forced to play very direct, or that is like their only chance to beat Barcelona is maybe to play very direct and just put it up towards goal as fast as you can. Like it's a defense mechanism, but it's also a way of maybe generating chances because you can't be successful in build-up. So that's an answer to that. But if you look at this plot, you can see and compare them to the others. And if you watch the games, of course, you already know that, but you could sense that, Wolfsburg, Real Madrid, Lyon, they are maybe more direct and more counter-attacking than others. But you could see, so that's it could be the case, but you need to, of course, compare it to other data and add it to video as well if you're scouting an opponent. But we'll move on. Here we have gain carry per 90 and gain pass per 90, and that's also two that correlate, but it really says that if you're up in this corner, you're like progressing the ball with carries more than you are progressing the ball with passing game. And you can see, for example, here that Real Madrid are very successful in doing progress with carries, while as Barcelona.
I'm thinking about Caroline Weir straight away.
Yeah,
when you say that.
Yeah, definitely. And Barcelona, they stand like they're not bad in that measurement, but they stand out more with the passing game with Bayern Munich and Barcelona. And Wolfsburg and Paris Saint-Germain, they have a pretty and the other teams, they have a pretty 50-50 on average case there. We can look into expected threat, and if you compare, when you look at gain, a gain can be a lot of what you do in build-up, what you do up to the final third, and you can, it doesn't necessarily increase the threat that much because you're still far away from the goal, but it says something about how you start the attacks and how you get to the final third. While as in the final third, you maybe do not progress in meters the same amount, but you move into the penalty area and you increase the threat more. So if you look at which teams that are good in generating the threat well from carries compared to passes, we can see if we see a different story. It's a bit different, but it's still pretty similar. Like you see Real Madrid, they generate a lot of threat through carries, and also Chelsea and Juventus. And Chelsea, they have Lauren James, Reiten. JRK hasn't played it as much, but they have players that we know are good with that measure. Wolfsburg, pretty 50-50, and Barcelona, more passing game. Barcelona and Lyon, more passing than carries when it comes to the final third. Here we have entries into the box compared to final third entries, and it really says that if you have a number where, if we look at Barcelona, for example, that stands out here, they have over 70 plus final third entries per game, which is an insane number. I don't think there's any team on the men's side either that can compare with that.
They don't park the bus in their own penalty area. They park the bus in the opponent's penalty area.
Yeah. And they have 60 entries into the box. So you could go back from the final third. So it's not a direct convergence, but you can still see that they have a 60 out of 70 ratio. When they reach the final third, they will reach the box. And if you reach the box, you're very likely to go to a finish. And if you see on average, you can see that all teams really follow a line, but you can see that if you are more up to the left corner, you're more efficient in when you're actually reaching the final third. You also have the quality to reach the box, and there you can see that the best. You can't see the actual number, but if you think about if you're closer to this corner, where you are, you are more efficient of like turning a final third entry to a box entry. And you can see among the teams that we're comparing that Chelsea has the best efficiency. So they're very good in that. And Arsenal is also very good. Not as good, but Arsenal is the second to stand out. And then I watched too few games, but it's a remarkable, interesting number in PSG. We know that they have a very high possession, but like their turnout is it's not as good. And I think it comes from them having a very high possession, teams really focusing on defending when they meet them. So they are attacking against very established defenses all the time. And maybe seen to their quality could add more quality in actually generating chances when the area is very packed, because like Barcelona can handle that very well, but like PSG maybe could be even better if they had an even better magician or creator when it comes to like generating chances on their own from a packed defense. We can look at touches into the box. Like if you move on from like converting a final third entry to box entry, you can look even further. Like if you have a touch in the box or like all the touches in the box, how good are you in converting those to good chances? And here you have the same philosophies, or if you're like closer to the left corner, you have a very good turnaround of like actually going for the finish when you reach the box. And if you compare the top teams here, you can see that Bayern Munich and Barcelona are together with Wolfsburg are the teams that stand out in that effectiveness. If you have a lower number as Roma, it doesn't necessarily, like we know Roma is a very good team in offense, but it could indicate that you have to look into numbers more closely, but it could indicate, for an example, that they attack a lot through the assist corridors in the penalty area, and then they want to reach the golden zone. So like they do that in a very like high standard, instead of like maybe as Wolfsburg playing more direct and like entering the box straight in the golden zone in the center and then going for a finish. Think about Evo Payor. So it could be it could be that. So you have to look more closely, but you can see that all the teams follow a line. I think this team is pretty interesting. I have to look up which team this is, but very direct. And then I also added like XG per shot and XG per 90. So I think there's a lot of talk in tactics that you want to have a high XG shot on average. And I would say that that's of course important to like shoot from good areas, but the most important thing is just to generate a high expected goals. Like that's the most important. And if you shoot like 10 times from zone 14, or you manage to shoot 1 time in the golden zone, it's better to shoot 10 times from zone 14. But so like you shouldn't be like too focused on only shooting in a good area, but still you can see like it's correlating. So you can see that Barcelona, they have like the highest XG shot, they have the highest XG per 90. Roma is maybe the most interesting here, that they have a lower XG shot, but their XG per 90 is really high. I don't know what you think about that, Mia, if that is that they come from on counterattacks and shoot earlier, still pretty high XG, or is that they're good in like shooting from like outside the box as well?
I haven't actually watched Roma more like a lot this season, but I've watched them play Juventus, for example, and obviously they did win the league, so it's kind of interesting that because they have had a lot. I mean, some of the goal scorers that have been coming on and decided the game has coming on from the bench. So it's,
and you could maybe see an Italian trend here also, with Juventus being the other team that also has like a pretty high XG but lower XG shot. So it's interesting. We will look into some defensive stats now, and what you have here is the challenge percentage. So it also says like how high percentage of the challenges you go into, and it could be a tackle, interception, air duel, so on. Do you win successfully in regards of like taking control over possession? And then you have pressing press action per defensive, pressing per defensive action. So like how many passes per defensive action, sorry. So how many like passes do you allow the opponent to do before you go into a defensive action? So if you have a lower number here, it means that your pressing intensity is higher. It doesn't necessarily mean that your pressing is better, like because pressing is also about efficiency, but it means that you have a very high press. And I think that Chelsea, like also like Emma Hayes, like Chelsea stands out here in regards of like they maybe doesn't have the highest pressing intensity, but their challenge percentage is very high, and their pressing intensity is still like super good. When you compare to Arsenal and Juventus here, that has a like their pressing intensity is lower, and they also their success rate is also lower, so they are like not as good in this recovery game. While as we looked at Lyon, Wolfsburg, Manchester United, and Barcelona here, that all perform very well in this metric.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting, but I think it says something about Emma Hayes' football here.
Yes, for sure. Also, I mean, every team that has won the league now going into a new season, it's going to be interesting to see how much of the playing style and tactics they take with them. Next season.
For sure. If we look at Lyon, and here it's interesting with like their recovery mean X. So it says like how high up in the field do you on average win the ball? And here you can see Lyon is a big standout with 56 and an average pitch. When we do this in data, we convert all pitches to a pitch that is 105 meters long. So 52.5 is like halfway up the pitch, and you can see that one team is above that, or maybe two Lyon are like way above the other teams, so they are like very good in the high recovery game.
I remember we talked about this before the Champions League quarterfinals when Chelsea were playing Lyon. Like with Lyon's pressing game and how high up they had intention to win the ball.
Yeah, and we know like we see Roma and Wolfsburg here, like also very good in that game of winning the ball up high. When you look at the amount.
Yeah.
Then I thought we would look at this, like this is the comparison like of how much of the ball recoveries do you do in the final third compared to the first third. And it's very normal that teams that are performing worst, they recover almost all balls in the first third because they are forced or has as a tactic to lay very deep in the pitch, and then they win the balls.
You mean park the bus?
Exactly. But so if you're up to the upper left corner, you have a very high ratio of like winning the ball up high rather than letting the opponent come down to your final third. And then you can see standouts here with Real Madrid and especially Lyon. And then you can see that most teams like follow, like they have more recoveries high than lower. If you see here with Chelsea and Manchester United, Bayern Munich, Roma, the teams that maybe are a bit different is than PSG and Arsenal that have a bit of a different style of play. But that's I think is interesting because Paris Saint-Germain has a lot of possession, and I think when we looked at the like amount of entries into the box and compared to final third and high possession, I think that probably comes from PSG. Like when they lose the ball, they are not as good as like recovering it fast with high pressure, and also that they have a lot of possession further down the pitch. That's my explanation of their numbers. So yeah, and the teams here in the bottom, they don't recover the ball at all. They just allow the opponent to have it.
Yeah.
No, jokes aside, but well, that's almost true. Okay, and then we will look into some goalkeeping here, and this is just like the what the goalkeepers that played. It could be one goalkeeper, it could be several that played. What is the saved XG percentage? So it's just about like how, if you take like the expected goals seen from the goalkeeper of the chances the opponent take, how high of a percentage have you saved compared to conceded? So if you have a high number, it means that you've done a very good job in like stopping the chances the opponent has. And you can see Bayern Munich stands out here. Also Manchester United with Mary Earps, Arsenal. And expected goals against, this is just the number of like the amount of chances that you also allow the opponents to generate. So you can see that Bayern Munich and Barcelona, for example, they have good, like the goalkeeping is fairly good, but they allow also very few chances. And when they allow chances, it's maybe more from a distance, which we will see in. And yeah, if you think, wow, what is this? It's Mackenzie Arnold in West Ham.
Oh.
And the other one here is the Köln goalkeeper, I think. I know where it is. So here, top performing goalkeepers. I made a table. And what is this? So I used sort. You can sort the goalkeeping on many ways, but I sort it on the netto. So if like how the goalkeeper seen from the goalkeeper, XG seen from the goalkeeper, XG2, like how much have you saved compared to conceded? If you are on 0, you're doing a good job. Like you're doing an okay job if you have an average on 0. If you're doing negative, like you're underperforming the average goalkeeper seen from the chances. And if you are above, you're doing a very good job. You're better than the average. You could sort it on save percentage that is popular, or save XG that I had in the other pot that is more of a ratio than a netto. And then you have mean XGA. And what is mean XGA? So that's mean expected goals against. So it says like what's the from the shooter, like the opponent shooter, what's the mean XG from the shooter that you have against you. So if the number is high, that means that the defense allows more chances to take place in your like in the opponent's golden zone, so to say. So they have pretty good quality chances. If the number is lower, like Mary Earps here, it means that Maria Luisa Gross in Bayern Munich, it means that the defense is doing a very good job. So the chances you save are more like long shots or chances in the air and so on, like that have a lower XG. So you can see
we have a good goalkeeper in Köln.
So yeah,
and obviously in Mackenzie Arnold in West Ham United, and that is very interesting. Speaking of the World Cup and Australia,
yeah, like both those numbers are super impressive, and also Sinsberger in Arsenal that still has a pretty high XGA when they actually allow chances compared to Arsenal being such a good team. If you compare to United and Bayern Munich, but Sinsberger had a top number last year, and she has it this year as well. And she's also good in other styles of playing, like in the modern goalkeeping. So if you would ask me who's the best goalkeeper in the world, I would say Sinsberger. That's my usual answer. And then, Mary Earps doing a super good job this season as well. Like also last year, the World Cup, great goalkeeper. We talked about Fleury having that really good goalkeeping in the Spider. Manon Hale I'm not sure about the pronunciation. But then I also think we can look again at the remarkable number of that Gros is doing a really good job, but you can also see how good job Bayern Munich's defense is. Like they're not allowing good quality chances in their own box. Like they're defending their box very well. So that's impressive.
These lists are good for scouts. We must say that.
Yeah, very good.
Obviously,
very good.
not just pick them and sign them before scouting them with video and like Jesper is saying, how do they defend and what do they allow the goalkeeper to?
Yeah, but if you are a Chelsea scout, for example, and you watch this list, you have a short list of goalkeepers to watch on.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Yeah.
So now we will look into some top players, and we will start in France. And I have not included players that we had in the last episode when we were talking about free agents. So it could be players that have been absolute top performers in the league, but I didn't include them because we already looked at the Spiders, so we focus on others. We might have talked about them in previous episodes, but then it was longer back, so I feel it's good to remind. But Sakina Karshawi, great fullback. Her Spider is overall super good. She has she's the dark or shadowed area you'll see in these Spiders. That's the average player on that position, or an average fullback in France. So she's like way above in all metrics. They are compared to all players. So like her being in the 87th percentile on touches in the box as a fullback, that's pretty remarkable, I would say. So
she might have had to step up this season because of the hole, in PSG Spider inefficiency. Because even if she has been a good chance creator, players haven't been able to capitalize on players like Karshawi. Karshawi. So yeah.
Exactly. There's a player I don't have super good knowledge of, like when it compares to video, but I still thought she's born in 99, Faustine Robert, offensive winger. She maybe could increase the like pure finishing, like compared to numbers a bit, but like her chance creation and shot assists and dribbles are super high. So interesting player. And also from her playing in Montpellier, I don't know if she's on loan or something, but otherwise like a great target for Lyon, PSG, or any club going to Europe. Oriane Jean-Francois, I think we have had her in previous episodes as well, a favorite player of mine. Also young, born in 2001, I think. Yeah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think so. She's super young, and her Spider like shows that she's she has the hybrid anchor style. Like she's maybe the best or one of the best in winning the ball, being successful in tackles, and also when it comes to chance creation, that she from a lower spot, like in a number 6 role, can have that high chance creation and be very important for PSG's offense.
Looks like a good passer as well.
Yeah, and also progressing the ball from running with it. So very interesting, and she'll probably stay in PSG, I guess. Then Elisa de Almeida, centre back, and I think that's also interesting. Like I think it comes from PSG's possession and like being very good in that, but like she also has a very good or high possession number from the back in her leader role, but also the defense is really good. She can have a super high pass percentage and still be very progressive, also progressive with carries. Interesting players as well. We move on to England, and I have a top list here and of grades, and the grades are like, it's a fun way to make lists for episode. I think it's very nice to rank players, but you can think that mostly it's a very good way of like putting players in layers. So when you're scouting, you can like find players that are in the top 10, and then you can scout them through video. And when you look into different positions, but you can still see like how good Ona Battier is in her numbers. Also like Manum and Hemp and Reiten, all performing super well. Also that United in their style of play also allows Hanna Blunder on the other side to generate these good numbers. Rachel Daly has had a super season in Aston Villa. And also,
I read somewhere today that Kenza Dali, she has been the player in the WSL that has made most progressive passes.
Yeah, that's probably true. I don't have the number in my head, but that's probably true. You can see with her AI detected qualities with like playmaking, passer, and key player playmaking that was and being the creator probably comes from her progressive style of play. And then I think it's interesting because we had an article, not an episode, I think it was before PlaymakerTV was born, where we looked at Kirsty Hansen's numbers in United, and she left United, and in Aston Villa she's been a top player.
She's loaned out to Aston Villa. And something tells me that she might go back to Manchester United if Mark Skinner has seen her play this season.
Yeah, probably. And good summer window for Aston Villa with Rachel Daly, Kirsty Hansen.
Yeah. Jordan Nobbs in the winter now,
exactly.
Lucy Staniford, they have an interesting team.
Yeah,
but here we have a great player. We know that already.
One of my favorite.
This is alongside Ona Battier. This is your favorite player. I know that.
And like when it comes to different kind of offensive metrics and how you value players, it's like you can understand why she also always gets so high numbers when you look at this. Like she has the most shot assists in the league. She has the highest, most amount of touches into the box. She has the best numbers in dribbling. And her chance creation is one of the best. And also like generating or taking care of chances with her expected goals. If I would say anything, is that she maybe could have a better turnout, or convert her chances a little bit better, scoring more goals this year.
Do you hear that, Lauren Hemp?
Yeah, do you hear that? Now Lauren Hemp's parents won't retweet me.
No, never again.
No, never again. So another player that I think, she was good last year in Chelsea too, but also a great player, Guro Reiten. She has similar looking spider as or bar polar as Lauren Hemp, but I don't know if it's a little less impressive, but the percentage is a little bit lower. But a standout.
Maybe they are used in different ways
exactly.
In their respective teams and down the flank, we must say, because you can see here that Guro Reiten is not a carrier.
Exactly. Guro Reiten also has better defensive numbers than Lauren Hemp. Frida Manum.
This is one of my favorite players.
Also super interesting spider. She's so overall from her midfield. If you compare to other offensive style midfielders, she's above average in all of these metrics, the defensive ones as well. So she's performing super well, chance creation, also scoring goals. I would say complete player.
And she has developed a lot this season. This is a player, obviously she has extended with Arsenal, so it's going to be super interesting to see this spider next season, to see how she will grow into her role in Arsenal even more.
I agree. Rachel Daly, we talked about her already, but I think it's such a good signing, and also like from the World Cup, playing at a different position, being successful there, and then like being a striker going to the Women's Super League, proving her in that sense. And yeah, it's a topic for our coming episodes, but just how our England will play, with Bethany England reaching form, and yeah, it's a interesting topic.
I mean, obviously also because Rachel Daly played left back.
Yeah.
During the World Cup.
Yeah. And then one player that I wanted to include that is not in the World Cup squad, but a top performer, Maya Letizier. I know that I praised her as a signing last summer, and some United supporters didn't agree with me, but yeah.
Maybe she has silenced them. Like
I think so. So like, if you looked at her number in Brighton, and like you could see that she will be performing well in United, or that was my take. Like, this is a great signing. She will fit perfect into United, and what a standout or starting season she's had.
Yeah.
Performing super well. Okay, Frauen Bundesliga. A league that I have not watched as much, but I let the greats talk here as well. And we have one player playing for England making the move to Germany and has had a pretty good starting season, Georgia Stanway. We talked before we went on air about Caroline Simon.
Yes.
We talked a lot about Oberdorf in previous episodes. I mentioned Eva Pajor. We talked about Svenja Hutt before. So yeah, there's a lot of top-class players in this list. And we will look at Viggotsdottir first, Madeleine Eriksson's future teammate in the back. One of the best.
And this is very interesting also, because obviously we don't have Magda Spider next to Gludis now, but obviously this is a good center back pairing.
It's a very good, like both Magda and Viggotsdottir being so good in adding quality in the offense, both being very good in the air. I think they are like similar in some sense, like so they, but also like they can take turns in doing the different roles.
Yeah, I do remember one thing now, because this season Magda hasn't been. I don't think her number is as high as Gludis is in chance creation.
No, not this season, but like previously they are. So I think that Magda can perform in that way again, with this season being a bit special.
Yeah, and obviously the roles that has been in Chelsea's backline with the center back this season is probably not the same as before. So it's going to be very interesting to see this pair in Bayern regarding that.
Exactly. And like if you would ask me from at least my point of view when it comes to statistics and so on, like in Europe at least, if we exclude the NWSL, if I'm forgetting any player, but like Viggotsdottir is one of the best in the world. It will be hard for me to say that any center back is better than Mappy Leon being my absolute favorite.
Yeah.
But behind her and Renard, maybe Viggotsdottir.
You have to watch Frauen Bundesliga more next season, Jesper.
I have to, yeah. Eva Pajor, I think her spider is super interesting, just from her like being a typical like number 9 that can score the goals, but also if you look at the chance creation, and like you can see, and dribbles, like adding value
to dribbles.
You can see that she generates a lot of value in more than just taking care of chances. Like she also generates the chances as well as scoring them. So like a complete striker.
And then won balls on offensive half.
Yeah, that too.
That's an impressive one as well.
And that probably comes into Wolfsburg's pressing game. being like she's like they are very good in it, and it comes from. So every player's numbers is good from the style of play, but also that she fits perfect into their style of play and performs well. So good and interesting for Polish football. Georgia Stanway also has a very from being a central midfielder, you can compare with the average area. Like air duels is something that she does less or performs a little bit less in, but otherwise. Her numbers are extremely good in comparison to other players. Like chance creation is the top one, but also the defensive stats and her progressiveness compared to her pass percentage. And I think it's like we knew that she was a good player before, but I also still think that it's very impressive to move to a new league, a new language, so on, and be this good immediately.
Yeah, and then obviously you can see player that moves. That move leagues, like they change to another league, that it takes time for some players to adapt to the style of play in the league and the pace and or whatever.
Exactly.
But something told me, I don't know about you, that before when it was announced that Georgia Stanway was going to the Frauen Bundesliga, you could almost say in beforehand that this is what was going to happen. She was gonna rule the midfield in Germany, because her style of play that's like, okay, you can feel that it was going to be a great fit.
Yeah, exactly. Svenja Huth, we talked about her in other episodes with European tournaments and so on, but a super good creator and wide playmaker. I don't know what to say.
No, we don't have to say that much about Svenja Huth. She's one of the best in the Frauen Bundesliga.
Yeah. And if we go to Italy, like you can see the ratings, but I like Tabita Vinga's performance in Italy is like she has one of the best grades in the entire Europe, like performing at the very top. And we like go back to the last episode if you want to see more of her bar polar, but being able to take care of chances, being a playmaking ball carrier, delivering the final pass to teammates that shoots. She has it all, and I hope now Inter didn't make it to Europe, but I want to see her in Champions League. But I'm sorry, Inter fans, but I guess if she stays in Inter, I'll be happy enough.
Yeah, but this list is quite interesting now, because obviously there has been in the other list as well top team players, but then you see Maria Banusic here.
Yeah.
Like in Parma, and then Pomigliano. You have players. It's quite interesting in that way to see that players in mid tables team or even bottom teams, they occur on these lists too.
Yeah, they can make it. I guess if you play in a gooder team, it's like the best players usually come to better teams as well. But the grade is just based on your action. It's not shifted or anything for in which team you play. And you can see there that Maria Banusic and Tati has had very good seasons in worst performing teams. Parma was relegated, I think, right? And so it's good. Two interesting players to sign. I went to the same school as Maria, also interesting to say. Otherwise a lot of Roma players, but I don't think that's a big surprise compared to how good Roma has been.
No.
Elisa Bartoli, right fullback, has a very above average spider, performing over in all the stats. But I think the one thing that she's a great pass breaker when it comes to intercepting opponent passes in the pressing games. She's very good in that sense. She also generates a lot of chances through her crossing game and like being playmaking from the fullback position. Also like progressing the ball with carries. Very successful in that. One to look out for in the World Cup. Manuela Giugliano, Roma centre mid. She's not a dribbler or a target in the air, but when it comes to the passing game and defensive and also like, her chances, she's performing super well. Top player. We can look at Mweka Minami, more being she is a centre back, but creating chances from the back for Roma. Also could be like generate chances from being a defensive player, so a leader personality when it comes to our avatars. Her defensive style of play, or she's very successful in defense as well. So and Roma had good grades in all their defensive players, and it's understandable compared if you see the Spider and what they did in Europe, like having quality players.
Yeah, they announced Saki Kumagai from Bayern Munich the other day as one of their new center backs, and there's rumors about Rike Seveke going to Roma as well.
Nice. I don't know about Minami's contract. Is she a free agent or like?
I actually have no idea, but I do feel that Roma will be. It's a club that wants to invest in their women's team.
For sure.
I think it's gonna. It did show. I mean, this season when they reached the Champions League group stage for the first time.
For sure.
But like you say, and this is also a player that I really like, Emily Hove.
Yeah, me too. And all the quality Norway has in the offense, like with Reiten and Hansen and Havi, and so it's they really have the offense that they should be like not like based on the offensive players, they should be a team that you should look out for in the World Cup, or like not maybe being like, I'm not saying that they should be one of the top favorites, but that they have the offense to be like
one of the best in the world.
Yeah, exactly. But
if you're gonna be honest now, it is like that. So.
Yeah, exactly. But in the defensive performance, they are not. And when we saw, it was a training game, but when we saw Sweden-Denmark here in Sweden-Norway play in March, I think like that. When I looked on paper, I was like, Norway has a better team than Sweden, or at least offensively. But Sweden were better as a collective. So we'll see. Spain, we look at player performance. I think it's nice to have the Champions League hero Rolfe in the top. One thing that I can say here, if you compare to minutes, is that we don't have all the games, so this is the performance. I mean, I still included Spain because I think it's nice, and they all still play that much, so it's like a fair representation of the player, but it's not maybe as a fair grade as the other leagues, like when you compare in between each other. But it's still a fair comparison of player when we look into Spiders. But you can see Lucy Bronze had a great season, and now they're signing Udan Batier. My favorite player in the world, almost now, but Mapi Leon doing well. We talked about Caroline Weir more than once. You can see her.
I'm actually not to take any player away, because you don't want that with Caroline Weir. But if you would take Caroline Weir out of Real Madrid, I really wonder what their place in the table would have been.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Rolfe Spider.
This is a good one as well.
Yeah, good one. You can look at the shot assists from the fullback position.
Yeah, that's. I was about to say fucking crazy, but it is. So I'm going to say that because I do think that throughout the Champions League till the final, she was the player in the whole tournament that had made the most, created most chances for her team.
And I think
which is obvious, like from the way she is used and from the way she plays in Barcelona.
And this generates hopes for us as Swedes, like in the World Cup, that we have this player with us and that she will deliver chances to other players. She will also be able to take care of them. And then the question is just when she does the work both defensively, like if you look at the tackles and won duels offensively, and when it comes to generating chance for her teammates, how will the comparison or the cooperation work with other players? Will we have other players that helps to perform?
I just hope that she will be able to receive the ball while going forward. Like, because this is what you see in Barcelona. But I will also say that she has been improving a lot defensively as well. But defensively for me is not the same as like receiving the ball with the back towards the goal.
No, same here.
So because even if you can hold the ball up or even defend it, like defend your space while having the ball, that's not the same as if you have to receive and turn.
No, true.
And this is where Sweden needs to find better ways to use Fridolina.
Very true. Very true. Carolina Weir, we look here at the dribbles, chance creation. All the numbers in this spider looking very good. But the technical
she has been looking good on video too, Jesper. So the spider is telling you the truth. I promise.
Yeah, exactly. It is.
Yeah.
You can look up some highlights. Mapilleon. We could have gone back to Viggesdottir, but I think that Viggesdottir maybe like she's adding at least like it's maybe not fair to compare like just this league season, but if you compare the spiders, at least you can see that Viggesdottir had something in defense that Leon has not performed this year. But when you look at the offensive and the possession stats, Mapilleon is insane. Like she could play as a number 10.
I was about to say that you can mistake her for a number 10 or
exactly. And then Lucy Bronze, like we were talking about a crazy Una Batlle spider look, but look at Lucy Bronze. Like how are they gonna deal with this situation with Una Batlle and Lucy Bronze? Are they gonna play both of them on the right, or like are the Lucy Bronze gonna go, or like what's gonna happen?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because like
we need to get back. We might need to talk about this. Like
because can you have the two best right backs in one team?
You probably can, and this is also.
And I mean,
but it's gonna be interesting. But we must add to the fact that Lucy Bronze, I think she signed a 2-year contract with Barcelona. So this is like next season is the second year, obviously. And Una Batlle has a lot of years to come to perform like that. So.
Yeah, and I mean, like both of them are good enough to play like in a more offensive position if they would play both on the right still. But then you have to move someone else to the bench, and then I understand Barcelona, like Una Batlle being a free agent. Of course, they should sign her. Like Lucy Bronze is older, and if she had 1 year out, they can we have the two best fullbacks on our roster for 1 year. That doesn't matter for us, but I'm still interested. Like from let's say, for example, that. And this is maybe another episode, but let's say that the coach decides Una Batlle is going to play in Lucy Bronze sense. Like, I don't want to sit on the bench.
No, exactly. Well, it's going to be interesting, for sure. So.
And last but not least, we're going to look at next generation. And I've generated this list for all leagues previously. I don't remember right now if it was halfway through or if it was in the fall when it would have been like 8 games or 7 or something. But you can I've taken out players that have played more than 500 minutes. So there could be very promising players that have played less. And then I've taken players that are born 2002 or later. So the players are, to this date, maximum 21 years old. and down. And then you can see Maya Tissier that has played so much. She has the best grade. We haven't talked about Katie Robinson in Brighton, but she also has had a super season. Do you want to say anything about her, Mia?
Yeah, I mean, obviously she is a name for the English senior national team. She has been picked for it during the spring, I think. So obviously there's no surprise that she's in this list.
No.
She is a player that it's going to be interesting to see if a top team picks up. If not next season, then I'm sure soon enough.
Yeah. And yeah, here was her spider. Yeah, super interesting as well. It's not, she doesn't have the defensive part in her role. Like that's something that she could. I don't want to go as far to say that she's not good in the defense, but in her role, she's not responsible. Like she doesn't have that much defensive responsibility for sure that you can see in the spider. But offensively, super good, especially when you look at the dribbles and the shot assists and chance creation. If you compare to other players in the league, she's one of the best.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite young players in France, Fiona Maevaliaga. She's born in 2005. She's part of PSG, or like PSG has put her on loan to Bordeaux. So but the problem is PSG has Karchaoui. I don't know if her contract is ending, but like what would happen with her next season, because they have one of the best fullbacks on the roster. So we'll have to see, but super interesting and future ahead. So then a player from Germany, Katarina Piljic. I know we had her on the list the last time too. She is a regista, a defensive midfielder that doesn't maybe stand out in the defensive part of the game, but when we talk about build-up and linking and so on, and like being a motor in the number 6 position, she's super interesting. And I think that would maybe make her fit very well into a top-performing possession team, like if she would play for Bayern Munich, PSG, that kind of style of play. I think she would be perfect in that system.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I do think that a team like Bayern München, obviously now because I watched a lot of clips with Bayern today and yesterday.
Yeah,
gonna reveal why maybe tomorrow. Who knows? But I do think that in Bayern München, it's very important that the center midfielders are good defensively. Like they need to stop what's going on in the center of the midfield. So obviously young players, they can develop that skill as well, because we don't know how she is being utilized in Essen.
Exactly. And 90, like she's still a teenager, so
yeah.
Then we didn't have any on the top 10, but I wanted to have one player from each league, so I took Chiara Beccari from Como. I should remember this now because I looked it up, but I think she's part of Juventus, so she's been on loan to Como. I think so. But as an attacking midfielder, she has a similar looking spider as Robinson, like very good with dribbles and shot assists, and also in the air. And scoring goals. So like she's been a good player in Como, and I think we will see more from her in the future. And then
maybe in Juventus next season, then if she's a Juventus player. Yeah.
And then in Spain, I took a player that was on the list, but it's not from Real Madrid and Barcelona, with Medina in Atletico Madrid, fullback. Good offensively, but a real standout when it comes to intercepting passes and defensive. Like, so a very good defensive fullback. She is good offensively as well, but in regards to defense, where she stands out the most, and she's born in 2004. So
not many times you see a fullback with these like stats defensively, because the fullback position is it's a very fascinating position, I must say, because you can use them in so many different ways.
Exactly.
But it's not like the traditional fullback from I think 15, 20 years back when if you were in the back line, you were there to defend.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe kick the ball long up.
Exactly. And I mean, maybe for her, it's the best like to stay in Atletico Madrid, being an interesting team behind. But I wouldn't be surprised if you would see a player like this in the Women's Super League, for example, recruited by a team that has that fit that they wanted, good defensive left back. And that was it, Mia. That was
it.
Yeah. That was this long episode. I think it would be one of our longest, but I've had much fun. And
I mean, it's 5 leagues, 1 full season, so we had a lot to go through.
Yeah, and what we can say for the future is that we will both have vacation, but we will continue to go for some weeks and ahead of the World Cup, and we will have some focus on
World Cup squad.
I think we will have a special episode on Sweden, but then we will go into several other nations in coming episode. We haven't really decided how we're going to do those episodes, but look out for World Cup special.
For sure. With that being said, thank you for this time.
Thank you, Mia, and thank you to everyone watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.